What is the purpose of life? What happens after death? Why do we exist if everything we know is destined to end? How can we live in a world so full of suffering? These are questions that, at some point, touch each of us. Yet these questions do not necessarily arise only in times of difficulty or pain. Surprisingly, they often come when everything seems perfect. When we have achieved success, accumulated money, built a loving family. The elements that, for many, yet even those who seem to have achieved everything find themselves, at a certain point, having to deal with emptiness, with deep and disturbing questions that leave no room for easy answers. This is the case of Lev Tolstoy, one of the greatest writers of all time, a man who lived one of the most intense and recounted existential crises in history. Tolstoy was not just an artist. He was a profound observer of the human soul, a thinker who analyzed not only the society around him, but also the contradictions within himself. This video explores his extraordinary journey, a path that led him to confront the greatest questions of existence and to find answers that changed his life and the lives of millions of people. Leo Nikolaevich Tolstoy was born in Milyato-Sentoventato, in the heart of the Russian aristocracy. Raised in one of the most influential families of the time, he lived in the comforts of luxury, vast grounds, devoted servants, and a privileged education. The family estate, Yasnaya Polyana, was a place from a dream. Surrounded by nature, with fields stretching to the horizon, it became the center of his existence. But behind this golden facade lurked a deep shadow. Tolstoy was orphaned at a young age, losing his mother and then his father. This early loss left him with a sense of emptiness and alienation from the world that would accompany him throughout his life. Although young Leo inherited an estate and a large fortune at just Dishanov, he felt that nothing he owned could give him a true sense of belonging. Tolstoy showed a split personality from a young age. On the one hand, he indulged in earthly pleasures. He loved gambling, drinking, and fleeting relationships. On the other hand, he was tormented by an iron morality, which pushed him to write diaries full of reflections and good intentions. But this conflict between hedonism and righteousness only increased his dissatisfaction. In Milyato-Sentoventato, Tolstoy joined the army and fought in the Crimean War. It was an experience that affected him deeply. For the first time, he came face to face with the brutality of war, with the suffering and fragility of human life. These events led him to a deeper reflection on the meaning of existence. It was during this period that Tolstoy began to write with a dedication that changed his life. His early works, such as Childhood and The Cossacks, reflected his personal experiences and catapulted him into the literary circles of Moscow and St. Petersburg. Here he met other great writers of the time, such as Turgenev and Dostoevsky, who considered him a genius. But Tolstoy, despite his success, felt increasingly distant from that environment. Fame, recognition, and prestige could not calm his sense of emptiness. As he wrote in his diaries, he felt like a man walking on thin ice, always on the verge of falling. At Trenta, Tolstoy retired to his estate at Yasnaya Polyana, seeking the stability that seemed to elude him. There he met Sophia Bears, a young woman of Dishaset who became his wife. Sophia was a devoted companion, a central figure in his life. She transcribed his manuscripts, supported him in times of crisis, and shared the running of the household with him. Their life together was intense. They had Tradisi children and built a seemingly idyllic environment. During these years, Tolstoy wrote War and Peace and Anna Karenina, two works that not only revolutionized Russian narrative, but became pillars of world literature. War and Peace is an epic fresco of Russian society, while Anna Karenina explores the torments of the human soul, with a depth that still fascinates readers today. But despite these extraordinary successes, Tolstoy felt that something was missing. In his diaries, he confessed that nothing, neither family, nor fame, nor wealth, could fill the void he felt inside himself. This void would lead him, at 50, into one of the deepest existential crises of his life. Halfway through his life, Tolstoy found himself at a crossroads. Everything that had once brought him joy, the warmth of his family, the recognition of his work, began to seem meaningless. His days lost color, and every action seemed pointless. In his diaries, he described nights tormented by nightmares and days marked by a sense of uselessness that seemed to paralyze him. Tolstoy documented this phase in his book Confession. In those pages, he recounted how he found himself at a critical point in his life, where everything seemed meaningless. He wrote that he had experienced moments of deep despair, in which he questioned the value of life and the possibility of moving forward. However, despite the internal torment, he decided not to give up and to face his deepest questions. This courage marked the beginning of an extraordinary journey towards the search for a greater meaning. Yet Tolstoy did not give up. Despite his torment, he decided to face these questions head-on, embarking on an extraordinary journey, not through physical places, but through philosophy, science, and ultimately, faith. Tolstoy began his journey with philosophy, studying the works of great thinkers such as Socrates, Schopenhauer, and Buddha. But these readings, instead of calming him, increased his confusion. Schopenhauer, with his pessimistic view of life as a struggle without purpose, left him even more disillusioned. Even Buddha, with his message of renouncing desire, seemed to offer a path too distant from his restless nature. Disappointed by philosophy, he turned to science. He studied Darwin and Trinov's theories, seeking answers in rationalism and evolution. But what he found was only a confirmation of emptiness. According to these theories, the human being was a product of chance, a meaningless aggregate of cells. This approach only amplified his despair. The turning point came when Tolstoy began to observe the simplest people, the peasants who worked the land. Despite their difficulties, these men and women found strength and serenity in faith. This discovery changed the course of his life. Tolstoy understood that faith could offer answers where reason failed. It was not a dogmatic faith, but an authentic connection with something greater. He decided to abandon luxury, to renounce wealth, and to devote himself to others. He wrote spiritual works such as The Kingdom of God is Within You, which would influence figures such as Gandhi and Martin Luther King. Tolstoy finally found the peace he had sought all his life. Conclusion. Tolstoy and #Trinov. Story teaches us that the meaning of life is not found only in success or knowledge, but in the ability to look beyond. Faith, in any form, can transform torment into hope. And you, what do you think of Tolstoy and #Trinov's journey? Write it in the comments and continue to follow us to explore other mysteries of life. Thanks for watching this video. Dawn and #Trinovid. Forget to subscribe to the channel and activate the bell. See you next time.